Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Riven, where you're here on Jungle Island, and for this video I shall be reading Atrus's journal that he gave us, and that's all I'll be doing here. So, I don't find myself a very good reader, but let's try it. They held for more than 30 years, but the corrections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is the hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. Revisions to Riven completed. There were still a number of minor adjustments that need to be made, but the basic corrections are in and should be working. Something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus far observed no change. It's possible I've made an error, though I've checked my entry against my prenotation and can find no discrepancy. I haven't slept in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it. If the fault is with my foundational assumptions, however, perhaps after a short rest I will see something. Success. It appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has become noticeably clearer, and although it's impossible to know this with absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work and I should be free, at last, to go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. The past 8 months have left me little time to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. There's been no sign from her in all that time. I only hope that. No, I must assume she's alright, lest my fears undermine my efforts. I did not create the Age of Riven. Unlike my father, I have never presumed to have such power, and yet the future of all those who live there have fallen into my hands. So far I've managed to read the page before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I would like to believe that I have saved a dying world. But the theories of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off of Riven as soon as possible. The problem now is Gen. I'll never be able to rescue Catherine and relocate the islanders if he is still the man he used to be. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, but given his history, I must assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Dunning civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in its wake, a pattern that would no doubt continue were he to ever escape the confines of Riven. For more than 3 decades now, the universe has been safe from his corruptive influence because no one has been able to leave that ill-fated age. The last linking book out of Riven having been lost in the Star Fissure upon my return to Mist. That was our intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all the existing links to other worlds. And since the libraries containing the vast and intricate knowledge needed to construct linking books remained largely confined to the ruins of Dunny, he would be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime, and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. This is what we achieved, but the way it fell was no one's ideal, and although the sting of it has gradually faded over the years, the deep pain of the responsibility for what actually came to pass has never left me. At the time it all seemed so clear. Gen's destructive path could not be allowed to continue. But it was never my wish that the innocent inhabitants of Riven, who had already suffered so much, would be the ones to have to pay for it. But enough. To dwell in the past is to die in the present. And the situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired since that time has yet to be factored into the equation. I think I have a solution for rescuing Catherine. Why it did not occur to me sooner, I do not know, unless the thought had been pushed out with the memory of my sons. A prison book. Many years ago, during a hunting expedition through the ruins of Dunny, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, as my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I had to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find I could still recall most of the formula, and with little experimentation, quickly succeeded in creating one of those devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of text but slightly, a normal link book's connection can be partially severed, such that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped in the dark void of the link, unless someone else then uses the book, at which point that person becomes trapped, and the first person is displaced back into the world. The technique can be applied to books that have already been written, changes to the text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. If my father is indeed unchanged, what better bait could there be than a book that appeared to be a link book back here to Dunny? Trouble. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have started again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are the result of the changes I have made. This did not, at first, concern me. Tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects I had anticipated during the initial phase of the island's readjustment, but in order to verify my assumptions, I recalculated, incorporating the new data. The results were not what I expected. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I realized. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act while I have the time. The signs are as yet barely visible, but there is no question that the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent unless I can keep ahead of it, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's shortcuts have yielded, but it's a dismaying process. The complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There is no good end to this. The last few days have convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that at best I can only strive to delay it in the hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to risk a rescue attempt. I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, so it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. Something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has found my lost linking book and freed me from this prison. I immediately realized that this could be the solution to my dilemma, and I believe my mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the fact that it may now be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven while also proceeding with my original intent to find Catherine has renewed my hopes. The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems of sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if a way could be found to signal me once again had been captured, it would no longer be necessary to take a real link book to Riven, and thereby risk the possibility of inadvertently freeing him. The deteriorated state of the gateway image would seem to make the use of a visual signal impossible. Yet the picture remains a reliable indicator of Riven's condition. Nonetheless, by measuring and interpreting variations in the noise patterns, I am still able to observe basic changes that occur in the age, even though I cannot see them. The problem is that my instruments can only detect changes that occur at a fundamental level, and it seems unlikely that an individual would be able to affect such an elementary change from within an age. The idea may be foolish. Still, there is a known weakness that may be worth investigating. An unstable anomaly that appears as a rift between two separate realms, the star feature. But how this feature might be exploited, I cannot say. Sending someone to Riven also means that, once signaled, I will have to leave my writing in order to take a real book there myself. Provided my father is safely out of the way, this should take little time. Assuming the island does not incur any serious damage during my absence, I should then be able to return to Kavir and hold it together long enough for Catherine to evacuate the remaining islanders. Predetermining a specific signal may simply be impossible, but I'm afraid there can only be one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for success will be greatly increased, and the possibility of disaster greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. My father is no doubt expecting me to bring a link book to Riven. May he not be disappointed. And that is it for that journal. Very interesting. I hope you could understand me as I was talking there, but that is all for this video. Next time we shall explore more of Jungle Island. So until then, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you then.